Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun-filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.uolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. And then you will see a list of the classes that you've last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name. And then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that. And then upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on Share, copy the link, and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at YOLO_app. I'm eagerly looking forward to all your submissions right after this class.
Hey there, kids. How are you doing? Welcome to today's class. Today is a start to a new course that we have here at Uolo, and the course is all about the universe. Now, in one of our previous courses, when we spoke about, a bunch of general knowledge things, we spoke mainly about facts. We had a class in which we spoke about the universe, and we spoke about the few mysteries of the universe, and we spoke about some fun facts when it came to the universe. But we didn't really get into the detail of how the universe works, where it came from, how it evolved over time, all of the things that are there in the universe. There's so much to learn about the universe that we haven't actually gone ahead and learned about. So this whole course is just going to be catered to that. We're going to be going ahead and talking about the intricacies. We're going to be going ahead and talking about the nitty-gritties. We're going to be going ahead and getting in depth about the universe. Now, I do know that space, universe, planets, comets, how the solar system works, how the Milky Way works, how galaxies work, all of that is something that interests all of us. It's something that's so, different. It's so unique. It's so, like, in a way, also weird, right? Because we don't really have that on land. We don't have that around Earth. We have everything just out there and it's ever expanding, and we really don't know enough about it. So, talking about the universe is something that, all of us enjoy because we're so fascinated by it. And also, researchers over time have always told us there's so much unknown out there that, there's more and more to learn about. And hence, it makes us so curious as human beings as to what is happening out there. So this course is basically to cater to that curiosity. It is to basically go ahead and get into the in-depths of, like, what do we know, and go ahead and even ask some questions about, like, what there could be or what there couldn't be. So this course is going to be, catered to all of that. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your certificate program as well as a little bit about your submissions before we get into talking about today's class. So coming to your certificate program, like you all know, you're getting certificates for the work that you're already going ahead and doing. The only thing that you have to make sure of firstly is to go ahead and attend all of your classes. For example, this is going to be a 4-part course, so make sure you go ahead and attend all of the 4 classes. Second thing, you have to go ahead and do all of your submissions for all of the 4 classes that you have. So first class, second class, third class, fourth class, you'll have 4 submissions to do. So make sure you do all of the 4 submissions. Automatically, you'll get a certificate at the end. Now, apart from this, let's go ahead and talk about your submissions in general. Now, whenever we did art courses, we always spoke about how we want to focus on one thing about improvement of skill. But in these courses, about the GK courses, what is happening now is I want to go ahead and focus about the concept of creativity. I want to talk about innovation, creativity, creativity, how you can go ahead and free up your mind, the idea of openness, the idea of going ahead and being able to think beyond your basic capacity. So for you to go ahead and kind of move one step ahead is what I want you to go ahead and do in this course as well. So I'm going to be giving you different kind of ideas and tasks and submissions for each of the courses, and they might be very different from what you've gone ahead and done previously. But try to go ahead and innovate, reinvent, and try to go ahead and make an effort to do all of your submissions for these, because this is just going to build on your creativity, and your creativity is going to take you in the long run places. So make sure that at this age itself you start building on that creativity. Now, since we've spoken about your certificate as well as your submissions, let's talk about the day's class. Now, today's class's concept is going to be talking about the evolution of the universe and basically how we all came into existence. Now, obviously, if we want to go ahead and talk about what is there out there, we have to first start off with how it came about, right? So we do know that, we live in a solar system, we have the sun, we have planets around us, we are like the third or the fourth, ring that's there, and we're kind of circulating around the sun, and we know all of these things that are basically there, right? But we don't really know a lot of the times where we came from, who came up with the idea of where we came from, who came to know whether it's the right theory or not the right theory, who are the people who went ahead and did the research behind it, who are the people who kind of figured out, and why did they figure out whatever they figured out. This is not very commonly discussed, right? And before we get into everything else about what is there outside, how it kind of works, how it exists, and what are all its characteristics, we have to firstly talk about where all of it came from. So today's class hence is named the evolution of the universe, because we're going to be talking about where the universe came from. We're going to be going ahead and talking about the theory behind the universe, where it came from and who invented it. Then we're going to be going ahead and talking about our solar system, the Milky Way, the galaxies, how it's changed over time, what it has basically gone ahead and become. So let's go ahead and get started with that, with our first concept of the term evolution itself. It's because, we have to start from the basics of the whole concept of what evolution basically is. So let's get started with it. So, what do we mean by the term evolution? Now, evolution, the concept itself, has a basic meaning, which is basically the concept of change. It means the concept of how things have evolved over time. So, normally, when we're using the term evolution, we talk about it in the terms of human beings. We talk about it as to how human beings started as one thing, and over the 100, 200, 300, or thousands of years, what's basically happened is humans have evolved into something else. Same thing when we talk about monkeys, animals, reptiles, whatever it is we want to go ahead and talk about. We always talk about how their biology existed to be something, but over time it's moved into becoming something else. Now, evolution in this manner is a very, very, very broad term. So, evolution can be used in the same exact manner how we use it for human beings to the universe. So, when we talk about the evolution of the universe, we talk about all of the changes that have happened in the universe. This can be in regard to the planets, the stars, the galaxies, the Milky Ways, the universe in general, how the gases have moved, how the suns have moved, how the stars have moved, how the moons have moved, how the planets have changed. So over time, there have been so many changes that went ahead and happened. And this is what we mean by evolution. It's basically the process of change that took place. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go ahead and talk about the first start of this whole evolution and who was the person who actually figured this out. So there's a person called Edwin Hubble. He was an American astronomer, and he in the late 1920s went ahead and made a very, very interesting and important discovery. So he was going ahead and observing galaxies. He was going ahead and observing the timeline of the universe with all of the information that they had. So obviously, space study, galaxy study, everything related to the universal study happened very, very later on. People were interested in what was there out there, but there was not extensive study that was done previously. So over time, with whatever information was gathered by previous astronomers, by people who studied the universe earlier on, he started going ahead and looking at at all the charts and looking at all of the data, and he figured out that all of the planets, stars, and things like that were there were actually sort of moving away from us. So if we are the center of Earth, that is, we are here right at the center, things actually over time. So let's say there was a person who was here 100 years before us, or 200 years, or 300 years before us. The information that he had, that he collected, said that a particular star or a particular planet was in a specific spot. But what happened was, currently it was not in this spot. It currently went ahead and moved further away from us. So he started noticing this pattern all around Earth and all around the solar system and all around our Milky Way. He noticed that stars was kind of receding away. They were basically going ahead and moving away. Now, what did this important, factor mean? What does this basic concept mean? Now, as he kept going ahead and looking into it, Hubble basically kind of understood that the universe was expanding. So, what it basically meant was that the universe started off in one spot. So, let's take, for example, a room that you're in. So, let's say the universe started in this room. But what happened was, it did not contain itself in this room over time. Over time, it started moving out of the room and it started taking more space around it. So, what he basically kind of derived at was that the universe was one small little particle or small little, micron kind of cell that existed. And from there, the whole big universe was created. And it was something that was ever expanding. The universe is something that is still expanding and is, something that people have studied over time. So, the universe, he basically came up with the concept of the Big Bang, where he went ahead and spoke about, how it started off as something so small and how it became something so big. So Hubble basically came up with this hypothesis or theory. Now, again, what is a hypothesis or a theory? A hypothesis or a theory is basically an idea or a sort of concept or a sort of, understanding that he basically portrays for what could have happened. Now, obviously, we don't have any person who, existed when the Big Bang happened. So we don't really have any written proof, or we don't have, enough meaning or scientific data to be like, yes, this is exactly what happened. But it's a theory that well explains what could have happened. So that's the concept of a theory and hypothesis. So let's now go ahead and talk about the Big Bang hypothesis or the Big Bang theory. Now, what is the Big Bang theory or what is the Big Bang hypothesis? Now, the Big Bang hypothesis or the Big Bang theory basically states that there was at one point of time just one small molecule or one small particle out there in the whole universe. So the whole universe basically didn't exist. It was just one small existence of something that was, almost smaller than a cell. So, how we have cells in a body. So the same way it was sort of like the size of a cell. But what used to happen at that point of time was there was so much heat and there was so much friction and there was so much like high temperatures that at one point of time this whole thing burst. Now, when it became like a whole big bang, that's why they call it the Big Bang, there was a huge big bang that basically occurred. This heat kind of exploded. The ever expanding universe was formed, and with the ever expanding universe that was formed, there were small things that came about. So for example, a couple of examples were, there were clouds that came about. And then there were like gases that came about. There were concepts of different kind of particles that came about, different ideas of rocks that came about. So all of these things basically kind of formed out of that small particle with intense heat, and that is the concept of the Big Bang theory. So what basically they say, the concept of the Big Bang theory just states that there was a small particle that kind of burst, it created a Big Bang, and the universe basically started from there. Now, how do they know that from that we are here today? How do they know that from that the universe is from? How from that did the Milky Way come into play? How from that did the solar system come into play? How from that did the star come into play? How from that did planets come into play? So they basically went ahead and studied this over time, and they came up with different ideas and concepts. So firstly, let's go ahead and talk about how galaxies were formed. So when the Big Bang happened, there were so many gases and clouds that were forming. Now, when these gases and clouds were kind of moving into each other and kind of playing around with each other, they started going ahead in swirls. They started going ahead and moving around each other all of the time. Now, when they started moving around in those kind of spirals, they started creating galaxies. Now, very, very good example for one spiral galaxy is that of the Milky Way. We are from the Milky Way galaxy, and we are a spiral galaxy. So it's just basically a bunch of gases, a bunch of clouds, it's a bunch of rocks that are all sort of, in one gravitational pull, just going all around each other. And that is how the concepts of galaxies were formed. And what about stars? How would basically the concept of stars formed? The concept of stars basically was when there was a lot of gas, there was sufficient amount of gas and there was sufficient amount of clouds together. These were kind of all pulled together and they all became sort of like a big rock. So they all kind of condensed together and became like a big rock. And when there was a good, temperature or a particular kind of, way in which the universe was working, the whole thing could, bring together and become a star. And obviously with the star it had sort of like a gravitational pull which started bringing planets to each other. Again, what is planets? Planets are basically a rock. It could be space, it could be gases, it could be different things, right? So for example, the earth is a lot of gas, it's a lot of water, and it is a lot of land. So in the different manners, there were different orbits that were found, and there were different planets that basically came together. And like this, the solar system concept basically came about. Now this just didn't happen in our galaxy of the Milky Way, but this basically went ahead and started happening everywhere around. Now the Big Bang hence caused so much evolution, it caused so much change. It started from one small particle which led to so much gases, so many clouds, which led to hundreds and thousands of galaxies being formed, and automatically hundreds and thousands of stars, and hundreds and thousands of planets, and automatically hundreds and thousands of moons. So in this manner, there was like, a lot of change that basically came about. Now, in 1991, there was also, a satellite that was launched that went ahead to do a little bit of research and trying to figure out whether this was true or false. And they figured out that yes, this was true. The concept that everything they thought about it sort of aligned with everything that was there out there. So there was enough proof to show that yes, this is exactly happening. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the age of the universe as well as the age of our solar system, the galaxies, and the planets. Now, the Big Bang that took place, and they've done research about, they needed to kind of figure out how old the Big Bang theory was, right? So, how exactly or what timeline do they place that the Big Bang occurred? Now, what they did was they tried to go ahead and study gases. They went ahead and tried studying the age of stars. They tried going ahead and assessing how they could go ahead and do so. Now, this is primarily physics. If you go ahead and do a lot of higher studies in physics and astronomy and everything related to the galaxies, then you will be able to get into the actual detailed calculations of how they basically figured this out. But what they came into understanding was that the range in between how old the Big Bang basically was, or how old the universe basically was, 7 billion to 20 billion years old. So this was basically Hubbard's logic. He went ahead and did enough research and concluded that it would be between 7 billion and 20 billion. Now, obviously, that when he studied this was in the late 1920s, over the late 1930s as well. But over time, with innovation and technology advancement, people have come to figure out that it is actually between the range of 10 billion and 15 billion. So instead of having such a large gap, so 7 billion to 20 billion is a huge gap that is there. They kind of came to the conclusion that it is somewhere between a 10 billion and 15 billion years old. So hence, accordingly, putting the Big Bang theory to have happened around 10 billion years ago or 15 billion years ago. Now, a year itself is 365 days, and it is so long. We as human beings live anywhere between 80 to 100 to sometimes 110 years old, and that itself seems like such a large lifetime. But think about how old the Big Bang basically was, and how back in the day it basically went ahead and happened. So that is a very, very old time span. But now let's go ahead and talk about what is the calculated age of our Milky Way. Now, again, previously it was taken to be something else, but over time and innovation, they went ahead and came about new ways of calculating, new ways of technology of figuring out how old our galaxy is, and they figured out that our galaxy is somewhere between 9 billion and 15 billion years old. So again, it is somewhere very close to when the Big Bang happened. So automatically our solar system or our galaxy of that of our Milky Way was formed back in that day. And over that time, there have been so many processes and so many changes. Now, obviously, like when I told you about the process of how a cloud, kind of came together with gases and how they kind of swirled up and became a galaxy. Now, that itself takes like approximately like 100 million years, so automatically a billion years to go ahead and for that formation to happen. It's a slow process, it's not a very fast process. It's just that it has happened so much over time that we have led to being here today, existing today, and basically being in a space that we exist today. So, since we've spoken about all of this, let's go ahead and talk a little bit something more close to Earth. Now, coming closer to home, coming closer to our solar system and our Earth, we wanted to also go ahead and figure out how old our solar system was and how old our planet Earth was. Now, when they went ahead and did research about, all of the rocks, all of the gases, and all of the land that they went ahead and found on Earth, they kind of estimated that the age of the Earth or the formation of the Earth basically happened between 4.4 million to 4.5 million years ago. So that when we were talking about earlier, we were talking about it in billions, but now we're going ahead and talking about it in millions. So it's not actually that old. So 4.4 million to 4.5 million years ago was when basically Earth came into existence. And they also believe that the oldest rocks were basically found in parts of Canada, West Australia. And there are very younger rocks that are basically there that they found to be around 3.96 million years ago. So with the research and proper research over all of these rocks and studies and everything, they kind of came to the conclusion that Earth probably is around 4.54 million years old. So at that point of time, obviously it's just the formation of the Earth. It's not actually when people started living on Earth, or it's not when basically life started on Earth. This is just the existence of Earth. Now when they figured out the existence of Earth, they automatically said that yeah, approximately around the same time, around a million years front and back would probably be when the whole solar system also came into the play. So hence they kind of came up with this conclusion on it. Now again, what about a life on Earth? When did life on Earth basically come into the picture? Now bacteria like substances or organisms that were basically there were found anywhere between 3.5 million years ago. So the concept of a basic life started from cells, like you all know if you've gone ahead and done biology, or if you have not done biology, you will learn this later. But we basically started off as basic organisms or basic bacteria or basic tiny, tiny, tiny cells, and all of that basically started existing around 3.5 million years ago. So from then things have evolved slowly. Small things have basically changed, things have kind of moved over time, and here we are today. Now this is basically sort of the timeline or the evolution of the universe. Now obviously you can get into a lot more nitty-gritties on how evolution has taken place, the smaller detailings, and how each planet is formed, how each sun is formed, or how each star is formed. But that would become a very detailed class, and it would be something that would be extremely complicated. So this was sort of like a brief of the whole thing to talk to you about, that this is exactly what has gone ahead and happened. Now, since we've spoken about this process that has happened, I want to now go ahead and give you your submission. Now, you would have noticed that I've been going ahead and playing a bunch of pictures of the universe from when the classes started. I've been showing you pictures from outer space. I still have a few to show you. So this is one of them. This is another one. This is another one. this is another one, and this is another one. So you can see I found out like sort of illustrations or pictures or digital designs of the universe. I'm not gone ahead and actually taken up actual pictures from the universe or space. I went ahead and took up a bunch of illustrations from the universe. So what I want you to do as part of your submission for this class is going to be to go ahead and find something that is similar looking. So a household item that is similar looking to some part of the universe. So let's say you go ahead and find a ball, then you can assume it to be sort of like a planet. So in that manner, go ahead and find something similar looking. If you have probably a balloon that is star shaped, then that could be the stars in the sky. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and get as creative as possible. You can also go ahead and look up more pictures of what are all the things that exist out there in the universe and find reference images of it. And once you find reference images of it, go ahead and find a household item. Find anything that is there around you that sort of looks similar and click a picture with that. So for example, the basic thing would be go ahead and take a yellow color ball, and that could be you with a picture of the sun. So go ahead and find something like this. So you can see how I'm making you do something really creative. It's a creative task for you to go ahead and do. Find something that is around you and click a picture and upload it. So this is a very, very simple submission that I've gone ahead and given you, but it's something that's going to really help you out in getting creative. It's going to give you sort of like an idea of how you can, imagine things to be something else. So you have so many things around you. A ball is always going to be a ball. A room is always going to be a room, but how can you reinvent it and make it look or think about it as something else? That is what your task is for today. Now, I hope you had a fun and, a really, really interesting class with me today, because I had a lot of fun talking to you about the evolution of the universe, giving you the details of the Big Bang, going ahead and talking to you about the timeline of how old things are all around us. Now, since we've gone ahead and spoken about this, in the next class, we're going to be going ahead and talking about a bunch of mysteries. And the next two classes of that, we're going to be going ahead and talking about the different things that exist out there in the universe. So make sure to go ahead and attend all of those classes for me. Now, since we have spoken about all of this, let's end today's class by talking about the certificate program as well as your submissions. Now, coming to your certificate program, like you all know, you get certificates for the work that you're going ahead and doing. Make sure of two particular things. Firstly, make sure that you're attending all of the classes. So again, this is a 4-part course, so attend all 4 classes. Secondly, make sure you're doing all of your submissions. These are all creative submissions. They're going to barely take you 5 minutes or 10 minutes to go ahead and do. You can do this at any point of time. There's no drawing, there's no coloring, there's no materials required for all of this. So it's a very easy submission. All you need is your parent's smartphone or your own smartphone just to click a picture and all of your household items around you. So go ahead and do your submissions, build on your creativity, learn as much. All of these tasks or all of these submissions are created in a way to make you learn something new and fun. So always do your submission to improve as much as possible. So like I always mention, we want to focus on creativity, we want to focus on change, we want to focus on improvement. So let's go ahead and do that together by looking at your submissions uploaded online. Now, till next time, have a nice day or have a nice week, and I will see you in the next class where we talk about the mysteries of the universe. Till then, have a look at the submission video. Bye-bye.
Hi everyone, we are excited to have you here in today's fun-filled learning session at Uolo. Here is a quick look at how you can submit your work after the class. As a first step, go to live.uolo.com. You can use any browser to access this site. On this page, you will see a list of all our classes. Scroll down and you can see the Submit Your Work button. And then you will see a list of the classes that you've last attended, which could, for example, show the dance or craft or science experiment classes you've attended recently. Next, it will show you the list of children whose names are registered in this mobile number. Choose your name from this list to submit your work. For instance, if you are Satvik Kumar, choose that name. And then choose the class for which you would like to make your submission. For example, if you've attended the New Year's Masquerade Party session and you'd like to make the submission for this class, click on the Submit Your Work button below that. And then Upload the photo you've taken. Choose the image from your phone and click Submit. You can scroll down and view all your past submissions and see how many of your friends or peers have liked your work. You can also see others' work and like their work to inspire your friends. If you want to showcase your work on social media, that too is very simple. Click on Share, copy the link, and post it on Instagram or Facebook or any other platform of your choice. Just a tiny reminder, your submission looks a lot better if you could click a photo in the landscape mode rather than the portrait mode. Do not forget to tag us at YOLO_app. I'm eagerly looking forward